The WNBA just made the biggest mistake in league history, and Sophie Cunningham is exposing everything. What started as a simple Instagram comment has turned into an all-out war between the league's biggest stars and Commissioner Kathy Engelbert, and the timing couldn't be worse for a league already struggling with credibility issues. Caitlin Clark, the player who single-handedly transformed women's basketball into must-watch television, just got fined for typing 4 words that every single fan was already thinking. But here's where it gets absolutely insane. Sophie Cunningham just revealed the shocking truth about how the league actually monitors players' social media accounts. And what she exposed will make your jaw drop. Before we dive into this absolute chaos, make sure you hit that like button if you think the WNBA officiating needs a complete overhaul, and let us know in the comments what you think about players getting fined for speaking the truth. The controversy erupted when Caitlin Clark commented on an Indiana Fever Instagram post celebrating their bench unit during a crucial game. Her comment was simple: "Refs couldn't stop us," followed by "elite bench mob." That's it. 4 words that somehow triggered the league office into action faster than they've ever moved on actual game-fixing issues. The fine came down swift and harsh: $200 for what the league called inappropriate criticism of officiating. But here's what makes this absolutely ridiculous. Clark wasn't even playing in the game she commented about. She's been sidelined with an injury, watching from the bench in street clothes, supporting her teammates who were fighting through what many fans called the most biased officiating they'd seen all season. Sophie Cunningham immediately jumped to Clark's defense, and what she revealed next shocked the entire basketball world. According to Cunningham, the league has people whose entire job is scrolling through players' social media accounts looking for anything that could be construed as criticism. She joked about it on Twitter, saying they should start a GoFundMe for Clark's massive $200 fine. But then she got serious and exposed how the league monitors everything: Instagram stories, Twitter replies, even deleted posts. Cunningham revealed that players have been warned about liking certain posts or retweeting certain opinions because the league considers that endorsement of criticism. Think about that for a second. The WNBA is more concerned with policing emoji reactions than fixing the actual problems destroying their product. But that wasn't even the most shocking part of this story. What happened next would make everyone question whether the league has completely lost touch with reality. The timing of this fine couldn't have been more tone-deaf. While Clark was being punished for a harmless Instagram comment, the Fever were in the middle of their most successful playoff run in years. They had just pulled off a massive upset that should have been the story dominating headlines. Instead of celebrating their product, instead of amplifying the excitement, the league chose to make headlines for all the wrong reasons. And here's where it gets even more interesting. Multiple sources close to the situation revealed that this wasn't just about one comment. The league had been looking for an excuse to send a message to Clark and the Fever organization about their public stance on officiating all season. The hypocrisy is absolutely staggering when you look at what the league has ignored versus what they've chosen to punish. All season long, we've watched Clark get hammered with cheap shots that would have been flagrant fouls in any other professional league. Hard fouls that sent her to the floor, elbows that connected with her face, pushes and shoves that went uncalled. The league turned a blind eye to all of it. But 4 words on Instagram? That's where they draw the line. Sophie Cunningham pointed out the absurdity perfectly when she said the league will let players get away with practically assault on the court, but heaven forbid you type the word refs in a comment section. What makes this even more infuriating is the context of Clark's comment. She wasn't attacking specific referees by name. She wasn't using profanity or making personal attacks. She was celebrating her team's resilience in overcoming what many neutral observers agreed was questionable officiating. Sports analysts across the board have been calling out the inconsistent whistles all season. Former players have been vocal about the deteriorating quality of officiating. Coaches have been fined repeatedly for pointing out obvious missed calls. But when the face of the league makes a lighthearted comment supporting her teammates, suddenly that's crossing a line that must be punished immediately. The financial aspect of this fine is almost insulting in how trivial it is. Clark is making millions from endorsement deals with Nike, State Farm, and practically every major brand that understands her value to women's sports. A $200 fine is literally pocket change to her. But that's not the point, and everyone knows it. This was about sending a message: sit down, shut up, and don't you dare challenge the authority of the league office. The problem is, that message completely backfired. Instead of silencing criticism, it amplified it 100-fold. Fans who had never paid attention to WNBA officiating suddenly started watching games specifically to see what Clark and others were complaining about. And guess what they found? Exactly what the players had been saying all along. Sophie Cunningham took this opportunity to really go off, and she didn't hold back. She revealed that players have group chats where they share videos of missed calls and blown whistles because they know speaking publicly will result in fines. She talked about how the Players Association has filed formal complaints about officiating standards that have been completely ignored. She even hinted that some players are considering more drastic measures if things don't improve, though she was careful not to elaborate on what those measures might be. The solidarity among players has been remarkable. Even players from rival teams have come out in support of Clark, recognizing that this issue affects everyone in the league. But here's where the story takes an even more interesting turn. Sources within the league office have started leaking information about internal discussions, and what they're revealing is absolutely damning. Apparently, there's been a massive divide between Commissioner Engelbert and several team owners about how to handle the Clark situation. Some owners recognize that Clark is literally the golden goose saving their league from irrelevance and think antagonizing her is beyond stupid. Others, particularly those from markets that compete with Indiana, seem perfectly happy to see the league's biggest star get taken down a peg. The politics behind the scenes are apparently so toxic that multiple league employees have requested transfers or started looking for other jobs. The reaction from fans has been swift and brutal. Social media exploded with criticism of the league office, with hashtags supporting Clark trending for days. Ticket sales for upcoming games have reportedly taken a hit as fans threaten boycotts over what they see as unfair treatment of the league's most marketable player. Sponsors are reportedly concerned about the negative publicity, with at least 2 major partners requesting meetings with league officials to discuss the handling of player relations. The WNBA, which has struggled for decades to build a sustainable fan base, is actively alienating the very people who finally started caring about their product. Clark's response to all of this has been absolutely brilliant from a PR perspective. Instead of getting angry or defensive, she's turned it into motivation for her team. She posted the screenshot of her fine on social media with laughing emojis, showing she's not taking it seriously. She promised the Fever Bench would be even louder in support of their teammates. She's turned what was meant to be a punishment into a rallying cry for her team and fan base. That's the kind of leadership and media savvy that makes her so valuable to the league, and apparently so threatening to those in power who can't control her. The broader implications of this situation are massive for the future of the WNBA. Young players coming into the league are watching how the biggest star in the sport is being treated for speaking her mind. International players considering whether to play in the WNBA or stay in Europe are seeing a league that prioritizes control over common sense. Investors looking at women's sports as the next big opportunity are witnessing organizational dysfunction that would make them think twice. The league is essentially sabotaging its own growth potential over a power trip. And everyone can see it except, apparently, the people making these decisions. Sophie Cunningham dropped another bombshell when she revealed that multiple players have been approached by overseas leagues offering significantly more money and better treatment. She didn't name names, but the implication was clear. If the WNBA doesn't get its act together, they're going to start losing talent to international competition. The league has always relied on being the premier destination for women's basketball, but that status is no longer guaranteed if they keep alienating their stars. Cunningham herself has been vocal about considering options overseas if things don't improve, and she's not alone in that thinking. What's really happening here is a power struggle that goes way beyond one Instagram comment. The old guard of the WNBA, the people who've been running things for years, are threatened by the new wave of players who have massive social media followings and aren't afraid to use them. Clark represents everything they can't control. She has more influence than most team owners, more fans than entire franchises, and more earning power than the league itself generates in some markets. Instead of embracing that and using it to grow the sport, they're trying to put her in her place, not realizing that her place is already secured by the millions of fans who tune in specifically to watch her. The referee situation that Clark commented on is actually getting worse, not better, despite all the attention. Recent games have featured even more questionable calls, almost as if the officials are doubling down to prove they won't be influenced by public criticism. Players are getting more frustrated, coaches are losing their minds on the sidelines, and fans are starting to question whether games are being decided by skill or by whistle. The integrity of the competition is at stake, but instead of addressing that fundamental issue, the league is playing social media police with their biggest star. Make sure you subscribe to the channel because we're going to be covering every development in this story as it unfolds, and trust me, this is far from over. The most recent development is that the Players Association is reportedly considering filing a formal grievance over the fine, arguing that it violates their collective bargaining agreement's provisions on freedom of expression. Legal experts who've reviewed the case say Clark might actually have grounds to challenge the fine in court if she wanted to, though that seems unlikely given the small amount and her desire to focus on basketball. But the precedent being set here is dangerous. If players can be fined for generic comments that don't even name specific officials, where does the censorship end? Sophie Cunningham has become the unofficial spokesperson for player frustration, and she's not backing down. Her latest posts have been increasingly bold, basically daring the league to fine her too. She's pointed out the double standard where certain players seem to get away with saying whatever they want while others get punished for the slightest criticism. She's also highlighted how male athletes in other sports regularly criticize officiating without facing these kinds of petty fines, making the WNBA look even more ridiculous by comparison. The damage to the league's reputation might be irreversible if they don't course correct soon. Sports media outlets that rarely cover the WNBA are now talking about it, but for all the wrong reasons. The narrative isn't about exciting playoff games or rising stars. It's about a league that seems determined to shoot itself in the foot. Former NBA players and executives have been openly mocking the WNBA's handling of this situation, with some calling it the worst PR disaster in professional sports this year. When you've lost the respect of your peers in other leagues, you know you've really screwed up. Clark herself has remained focused on her recovery and supporting her team, but sources close to her say she's privately frustrated with how the league has handled not just this situation, but her entire experience since joining. The lack of protection from dirty play, the inconsistent officiating, and now the petty fines. It's all adding up to a pattern of disrespect that won't be forgotten. Her camp is reportedly already planning for her future beyond just basketball, with entertainment and business opportunities that could eventually make her less dependent on the WNBA for her platform. The final insult in all of this is that while the league was busy fining Clark for her Instagram comment, they completely failed to capitalize on the actual basketball being played. The Fever's playoff run has been one of the best stories in sports, a true underdog tale that could have attracted casual fans if properly promoted. Instead, the league made itself the story for all the wrong reasons. They turned what should have been a celebration of their product into a controversy about their leadership. That's not just bad management, it's complete organizational malpractice. As this story continues to develop, one thing becomes crystal clear. The WNBA is at a crossroads. They can either embrace the new generation of stars like Clark and Cunningham, who are bringing unprecedented attention to the sport, or they can continue down this path of petty authoritarianism that will ultimately drive away both players and fans. The choice seems obvious to everyone except the people making the decisions. Sophie Cunningham said it best in her latest post. The league needs to decide if it wants to be a professional sports organization or a control freak's fantasy. Right now, it's looking a lot more like the latter, and that should terrify anyone who cares about the future of women's basketball.